Hello and welcome to episode 6 of series 2 of Urban Informatics over coffee. I am Ellen, and in the last episode we talked through setting up a moving camera to create a motion to render. So this is what this video is about. We're going to be rendering what we set up in the last video. I'm not going to lie, I have already half drinking my coffee, so I've got a bit of a head start on you, so hopefully you can catch up while I'm talking through what we're going to be doing. So jumping back into our model, it should be exactly how we left it. The first thing we are going to do is I'm going to right click show safe frame, and this shows me exactly the size of the frame that's going to be rendered, and this can come in all shapes and sizes, so it's just depending how your settings are currently set up. If we go to our render setup, we'll press F10 and we scroll down to output size. I'm currently set as HDTV, which is pretty good for what I want, which is to edit this into a YouTube video. So this is what I want, but you can have anything including custom. So if I press custom, you can see it's a bit more square. If I press IMAX, would be fun if I could show this in IMAX, it's also square, if you're familiar with IMAX. But I'm just going to go back to HDTV. And for now, I'm going to exit out of here and I'm going to work out exactly what I want to render. So how rendering an animation works, it's like how you would render a single frame. So if I do that, currently render as single, it's good enough, and I just press render for a second. It's rendering a single frame, and the way rendering an animation works, it will render each frame individually in chronological order. So however long it takes, see how it's still rendering? However long it takes to render this frame, that's how long it'll take to render each frame in the animation. So if I need 30 of these a second, you can imagine how long the rendering might take. So I'm just going to exit out of there. So with that in mind, we might want to trim down how much we're actually rendering. So as a test, I might just render the middle bit of this camera motion. And to do that, you can hold down Control Alt and use your left mouse button to drag the starting frame, and you can use Control Alt right and then do it down here. It's actually not doing it right now, so don't be misled. My keyboard is actually quite crappy and sometimes doesn't like when you're holding down two keys at the same time. But that's alright, you can do it that way, but I'm going to show you another way to do it, purely because if you're like me and have a crappy keyboard, it might be the only way. And that only way is back in the render setup. You can see my time output is currently a single frame. You can change it to the active time segment, which renders your entire active time frame. So if I had managed to drag my start and ends, it would show differently. So my active time frame would have been, if I dragged it to start at 60 and end at 520, that would have been my active time frame. But because that's not working for me, I can also just go to range. So if I did want the middle, I can say, please start rendering at frame 240 and please stop at frame 360, which would have been the same effect I had down here. You can also render a bunch of frames, but if you just want a normal range, that's the way to go. If we come back down to output size, we can see that I still have my HD TV and has my width and my height. You can pick a different resolution, but it will keep the same ratio. So you see my safe frame isn't changing over here, but this will greatly affect your render time. So if you have all the time in the world and you don't have any assignments due at midnight tonight, you could pick a higher resolution and just leave it rendering the background, or you can just leave it as the default, which I believe is usually the lowest option, which is what I'm gonna do. The next thing to do is to pick your file location for your render output. So currently nothing. So if I press on Files and I go to where I want to save it, here, give it a file name. This one can just be tests. And because I know I want to save it as a animation or as a video, I'm just going to say please save as an AVI file, which is compatible with, could be bold and say all video editing softwares, but save that as it is. And now That's where my file is going to save as, with that name as it's exporting. We're almost there now. We're going to check the renderer. Pick whatever is applicable to you. For me, Arnold is fine because V-Ray never liked me and doesn't like to work for me. And make sure your view to render is correct. I have been burnt by not checking this and just rendering a still frame and not the thing that's actually moving. So change it to your camera. If you have multiple cameras, look for the right camera name, but I only have one, so it's super easy for me. And now we should be good to go for our little basic render output. I'm going to press render. And as you can see, it's rendering that first frame, which is this bar here and how long that has left to go. The top frame is the total animation. So this is the one that'll take forever to get done. And you see it just moved on to the next frame. With this as well, if you've bitten off more than you can chew, and it's taking a lot longer than you expected to render, and you really need to get back into your model and keep working. Since we've set it up to be saved here, if you press cancel, it'll cancel the render in progress, but it will save everything you've rendered so far. So you won't lose that progress if you need to cancel halfway through and return to your model. Wait a second. We've done something wrong here, folks. It is exporting each frame individually. So we're going to have to cancel that anyway. Cancel. So that's not what we wanted. I don't know what happened there. So it was exporting the frames as individual outputs, which is not what we want. I have test and it's going. Did I accidentally press not AVI? Is that what went wrong there? Ah yes, I didn't get this last time. So if it's not already an MJPEG compressor, put it as that and kind of drag it close to the end for your best quality. I find this doesn't really affect the rendering time. Do that, press OK, and hopefully now it'll export as a AVI file. I suppose when I go back and edit this, I'm going to see my brain fart and press the wrong thing. Okay, hopefully that works for me now. Okay, render. Okay, rendering frame 1 again. Oh yes, here we go. Now you can see it's rendering as an AVI file. So don't need these, let's delete those. I'm just going to leave that rendering in the background and come back to it at the end. I might not render the whole thing depending on how long it takes, but I'll see you when it's done. We are back. It is still going, but I might just cancel it because I'm impatient. So I'm going to press cancel twice apparently, and I'm going to open up here. See, now all these frames are in one AVI file. So we got there in the end. So I'm going to import this into my Premiere profile for this and edit it together just to show you that it can be done, and we got there in the end. Despite the roundabout way we got here, I hope you found this helpful, and you can now render all your camera motions to your heart's content. But thank you for sticking around. Hope you enjoyed your coffee, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.